Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to try doing something that I've struggled with. As a power fisherman, you need to be able to use crankbaits, and that's something I've just not put enough time and effort into, so I have decided that before I try to fish these BFL tours and any tours and try to work my way up, that I'm going to have to learn every single way there is to fish, and with crankbaits it's just been really tough for me. I just haven't put the effort into it. The lakes I tend to fish are better for flipping, pitching, and things like that. And it shows in my results. Crankbaits catch a lot of big fish. I just have struggled. I don't know why I haven't thrown them much. But we're going to be using a 1.0, a very small crankbait from the KVD Strike King company. The color is actually being used as a chrome sexy shad, I believe is the color. Like I said, this bait is very small, coming in at 1 inch, but the shad that I'm throwing up against, they are 1 inch threadfin shad, so this bait really matches up. Crankbaits can really be used anywhere. Right here, I'm actually only fishing in about 1 foot to 2 foot of water with this bait, diving from 2 to 4 foot, so I am still dragging mud. I go along this bank and it has very little cover to it. There's a few sticks here and there, and then there's some fish sets out more toward the boat, but the fish had been relating up against the banks. It's really important to remember to bounce your crankbait off of any sticks. It creates a reaction bite if there's a fish out off the edge of a tree. A fish will usually hit if they see the crankbait or what they presume to be a shad. If it gets injured by bumping up against wood, it almost always causes a reaction bite. On the very next cast, you're going to get to see this. You'll see my rod tip stop as I bounce it off the tree, and as soon as that happens, the rod loads up with a nice fish on it. Here you'll see right there, I just bounced off of a little tree and I was rewarded with a 3-pound largemouth bass. Now I only use 10-pound test line usually. I'll use a 10-pound fluorocarbon, and once in a while I'll go up to 12. If the water is extremely muddy, I can go up to 12, but you don't need much when it comes to this. The fish, you're not setting the hook like you would on a jig where you could snap your line, and you should be using a graphite or a fiberglass rod that has a ton of give to it, so the fish don't just snap your line. It's not instant pressure, which causes a reaction. Well, here I'm up against some riprap, and there were bass coming in, schooling up and coming in and chasing shad up against the bank periodically. But as you'll see, there's a fish on the backside of that little stick up sitting out there. There was a log, and there is a fish on the backside because I just threw through the front side and had nothing. But as I cast past it and bring it toward the log, I feel a little bump off the tree, and then the fish hits. If you slow it down, you can see it right there, and I actually rolled him over this log because he was hung on to it. I think I got some of the hooks stuck in the tree, but I was able to hoist him up over, and This was a real nice fish too, a nice solid 2 pound, 2.5 pound bass, and take these all anytime, especially on this little lake here. Now a quick tip, whenever you're going through and you're paralleling rocks, you're going to get hung up a ton. So when you do, don't pull hard. Just snap your line a couple times and it'll pop right off there. Especially if they're small rocks, you'll have no problem doing that. And on this cast here, I'm going to have to do it again. I throw way up against the bank, way too close. And when I come off the drop off, there's another rock just sitting out there. And once again, I had to pull the pole and it pops free immediately. And as soon as I pop free, I'm rewarded here. And here's the final bonus tip for the day that I learned. As you'll notice, a boat is pulling through that little jetty there, and this has nothing but a positive effect on the fishing. Anytime a boat passes by, people kind of get upset. They think the water's getting stirred up and it's scaring the fish. It does the exact opposite. All it does is get the fish in a feeding frenzy. So as soon as a boat passes through, you need to be casting right to it. And especially if it's close to the bank, because all it's doing is churning the waves up and causing food to get washed out, and the fish go up against the bank and they get very active. As you'll see, I catch back-to-back fish right here after that boat passed right by within 5 yards of this spot. So though they weren't big, I have caught plenty of big fish doing this. But it turns on the chumming, and like I said, don't think for a second that motor affects those fish unless it's running right over the top of their head. You know, these fish are accustomed to this. They're used to it. You don't have a clue how many boats go by their heads every day. They understand what's going on and they react accordingly, and you can catch a lot of fish this way. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope to bring more crankbait videos to you soon, because this is, like I said, my Achilles heel. I need to learn how to do this a lot better. So see you guys next time.